Hi, I'm Christina Thomas. I'm a country girl from North Carolina on the Virginia border on a century-old family farm purchased in 1913. Growing up all natural, I spent a lot of time learning all things nature, from trees and plants and vegetables, herbs and root medicine, animals, especially animals and rocks. I would walk the streams of those woodlands, saving animals with my god sister that I later realized we were imprisoning. I still love gardening. I formulate and create herbal products, design natural stone jewelry, and Southern cooking. But my favorite thing to do is spiritual work. I have a lot of titles, but my favorite are wife and mom. Some of those other titles include being an Air Force retired veteran, the board chair of Southern Nevada's Veterans Advocacy Council, a healing mentor, wellness consultant, a national speaker, a life and spiritual coach, and the creator of my family business, Herbally Free. I spend my days helping people navigate through their wellness journey. I also enjoy my life traveling the world, finding holistic practices for myself and my multiple businesses. NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, is the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization. We provide advocacy, education support, public awareness so that all people affected by mental illness can build better lives. Our local NAMI affiliate is Southern Nevada. We offer education programs such as NAMI Family to Family, NAMI Peer to Peer, and NAMI Basics, support programs such as NAMI Connection Recovery Peer Support Group and NAMI Family Support Group. Awareness activities such as NAMI's In Our Own Voice presentation, which we are here doing, and NAMI Ending the Silence, and outreach programs such as NAMI Smarts for Advocacy and FaithNet. Now Keisha will speak.
Hi, my name is Lakeisha Oliver. I'm the wife of an Air Force retiree, the mother of a 13-year-old son, and a disabled Air Force veteran. I'm originally from Farmville, Virginia, yes, the real town. I have a master's in clinical mental health counseling and work as a community readiness specialist, counseling military members transitioning from service to civilian life. I enjoy spending time with my family. They are truly the joy of my life. I've been a novice artist for the last 15 years and I love creating things. It's my happy space. I love, I have a loving miniature schnauzer and an evil black cat that always keep life interesting. Our purpose today is to offer insights that provide support in the roles that matter to us all, to be better siblings, coworkers, neighbors, service providers, parents, spouses, and friends. Mental health conditions in ourselves and in someone we care about can impact those roles. The stories you'll hear today will describe how mental health affects people and their relationships with others. We'll share how mental health has impacted our lives, explore warning signs, and describe what kinds of habits and changes support our mental health. So let's get started with our what happened. Chris?
So, what happened? I was no stranger to trauma. I enlisted in the military to leave it all behind. But I wasn't ready for the trauma ahead of me. I was kidnapped and raped 9 months after I enlisted, and I couldn't say a word for months. I wanted nothing more than to run again. So I signed up to deploy, and 6 months later, I found myself in the same acts awaiting me at the deployed location. I was stalked and sexually assaulted in the middle of the night while I slept in my tent by my supervisor. My deployed leadership left me with my perpetrator for 4 months rather than sending me home. Life stopped as I knew it in that desert place. The trauma was back to back. I would go days without sleeping, eating, grooming. At some point, I recognized I no longer was nothing more than an object with no regard to anybody. My religious cultural prayers were consistent and frequent, and yet I was becoming more frustrated with the terror inside my mind conflicting with what I was taught in my religion. Every day I was left more confused, ashamed, dismissed. I tried talking with my leadership. They told me to get it together or I'm out. I tried talking with religious leaders. They told me to pray, and my prayer life wasn't strong enough, and I wasn't dwelling with God, and I needed to change my life, and hence it was my fault. I returned home to my duty station with uncontrollable, racing, distorted, catastrophic thoughts, rightfully so. 1 year after I returned home from my deployment, I lost my little godbrother to teen suicide, and that was my reality check. I was carrying a lot of trauma at 21. I was a survivor now of molestation, abuse, domestic violence, kidnapping, military sexual assault, and rape. I lost control of everything, and my body took the brunt force and began shutting down one organ system at a time. The wounds covering my mind were now physically manifested, leaving me bedridden with 6 major autoimmune diseases and an unspecified neurological disorder. I had to have over 30 surgeries and procedures in a 7 year span. I lost my military career, my active life, the ideal wife and mom, the dream. I was hopeless, taking 40 pills a day for mind and body ailments. They clashed. I had seizures. Each time I woke up different, a little more imbalanced. The memories were so intense and all day long. Each time I woke up, my symptoms and pain was worse. I couldn't manage what I was feeling, good or bad. It wouldn't balance. I still couldn't sleep regular. My thoughts were off. My sense of self was off. I had a list of conflicting diagnoses from different doctors from the brain of hell's worst experiences that I was living in. Whatever kept me the busiest was the best that helped me avoid, which was worsening my whole health. I started having suicidal ideation shortly after I was medically retired, and I had a beautiful life to live for that I didn't know how to truly receive. Doctors labeled my childhood trauma as complex PTSD, my military kidnapping and rape as severe military sexual trauma post traumatic stress disorder, and the mood instability from those seizures had now been named as manic behavior as bipolar type 1. My new husband was also active duty member leading troops in and out of combat locations, and now a 1-year-old little boy watched helplessly at the woman that was his mother was now 25 years old and completely mentally and physically handicapped. Keisha?
So, the first time that I had a full on panic attack was on deployment during a real world threat in the back of a bunker with a gas mask on. At the time, I had a lot of thoughts going through my head. I thought no one really knows we're here. Both our country and the host country had publicly said that there were no American troops present in this location. I thought about the pain that my family would suffer if I didn't make it home and all the stuff that I hadn't had a chance to do yet. I was a member of a decontamination team for mass chemical and biological exposure. So then I started to think of all the people that could be impacted. I began to hyperventilate, but I refused to remove my gas mask when suggested by my counterparts. That was not going to happen. If I was going to pass out, I was going to pass out with that gas mask on. Obviously, I survived, though I didn't think any of us would. It was a while before anxiety set in again, when an undiagnosed condition caused me significant pain for about 3 years. I remember a couple of my military doctors telling me that I was too young for severe illness and that it was probably all in my head. I went along with it for a while. I began to think I was losing my mind. I became afraid of many things. I was afraid that the ghost pain would return at any time, and it did. I was afraid that I'd be judged by my fellow service members, and I was. That was one of the most disheartening parts of my journey. I had dedicated my life to this country through military service, just as they had, but I could count on one hand the people around me that had genuine concern, and most of them were my airmen. There were plenty of dark days. I had panic attacks that made me feel like I was dying. My heart raced and I'd be in a cold sweat. It seemed like the walls were closing in on me. I went from being a social, fun loving person to someone who just wanted to be left alone. I would sleep 14 hours in a day. I didn't think I'd ever be the same. Growing up, there was this unwritten rule that you suck it up and move on. No one has time for your feelings when there are so many pressing and urgent issues present around you. So I didn't have the knowledge to address the mental health concerns that I faced. I struggled with my anxiety for a long time, but nothing could prepare me for discovering depression while living in a foreign country. So that's what happened. Let's explore what helps. Chris?
So, what helped me? Encouragement helped me. My godmother was my first encouragement. She made me swear to her I would go get help after my little brother's death. My family involvement, my family weekly and monthly feedback check ins to see where I was, if I was helping or harming my environment. Medication and therapy helped. I was 4 months pregnant when I started both medication and therapy because I didn't want to lose my baby, and the nightmares and anxiety was too much on my body. The benefits of the medication outweighed the side effects. And when I had the right medication, the side effects were nothing compared to the pain I had felt without it. I hated a lot of the pains that I had had with finding the right medication, but it was worth it. And I know it will be a part of my life. My spiritual connection helped. As a young couple, we prayed, went to therapy, talked every day through the pain. I find peace in my creative expressions. That helps so much, whether I'm landscaping, interior decorating, gardening, horseback riding, hiking, writing, journaling, holistic and healing practices. But the most helpful of everything was dedicating myself to 13 evidence based therapies and training for consistent 10 years to reestablish what I wanted in my life. and they were all mental health therapies that help not just the mind, but the body. I also fell heavy into Eastern medicine and practices for wellness, consistent practices, meditation, yoga, swimming. Because I have such a complex mix of conditions, it's necessary I take an integrative approach of complete mindfulness. Mindfulness practices help with those creative expressions, such as singing and music. Those were things that I did every day as a part of my regimen when I was getting through the childhood into my adulthood. So, support systems help. That includes clinicians, families, friends, peers, organizations like NAMI. My personal business as a wellness, life, and spiritual practitioner is what has helped me see all the areas of my life that were needed to be adjusted and why those adjustments were needed today. Working in wellness also leaves me no room to forget what is important in my recovery. I am constantly coaching, mentoring, motivating, and educating those in mind, body, spirit, holistic wellness. Because of my choice to heal and given my purpose and occupation of being a healing mentor, it is necessary I stay engaged in wellness techniques and practices that work for me and others to bring them the healing they are in search of. Helping others through my personal business motivates me every day. There are days I physically can't, but mentally I overcome by using the tools and training that I have found in the past to move forward. Overcoming my hurts mean I can now help or meet a soul that has been journeying relentlessly as I had for solutions to heal. Being able to stand unwavering in hope that better days are to come is an honor I hold dear to my heart. Keisha?
So, there are many things that helped me during my journey. Eventually, I was diagnosed with panic disorder with agoraphobia, which means I have anxiety with panic attacks, and there's a fear of being in public places, which is very situational for me. This was diagnosed with my fibromyalgia, which is a condition that causes immense pain. When I received my diagnosis, acceptance was the first thing that helped. I was relieved to know what was happening with me. I was able to accept that a lot of the things that I thought I couldn't do were really a reflection of the dysfunction that anxiety had caused in my life. It took me many years of trial and error to find interventions that worked for me. My spirituality is so important to my peace of mind. Counseling has always helped with my situational anxiety. I was taught ways to train my thoughts, breathing, and behavior. I found ways to manage with coping skills. There are little things that make a significant difference, like I've got to have ice water or minty gum stuffed in the back of my mouth, making sure that I eat and take a break when I need to. A huge help was getting comfortable with having conversations with my family about my symptoms and triggers. My husband reminds me to take a break and is comfortable telling me when he notices behaviors that signal that anxiety may be driving me. I listen, not all the time, but I listen. Um, I do a lot associated with self care. During this period of COVID precautions and social reimagination, my art and crafts have been extremely important. When I'm stressed or distraught, I create something. I complete a project that allows me to be in control and channel that energy into something that brings me joy. I talk and laugh with my family often. It keeps me grounded and reminds me of how far I've come. Completing my master's degree program was not only an exploration in higher education, but also a journey in self discovery. I learned so much about myself that I didn't fully recognize before. Understanding how trauma could have a lifelong impact on functionality was so real for me. I understood it so much more. I became more and more comfortable with my humanness. It was finally okay not to be okay all of the time. I was relieved that what I experienced was more common than I had previously thought. So I talk about it with my friends, family, coworkers, and strangers. It's not always easy, but I always work through it with as much positivity as I can muster. So that's what helped. Let's talk about what's next. Chris?
Thank you, Keisha. So, what's next? That's a really big question for me that I ask myself daily, and I that can cause a lot of anxiety. But I've learned that I have to be able to set in place what I want next in my life. So, in order for me to be able to say what's next, I had to be able to say what I love. And I love being here today. That was all I needed before was to know what was next was I was alive. So it's an honor to be alive, to be a survivor and a warrior. That is my greatest success. Staying the course with my daily regimen for mental wellness is a success. Commitment to myself and dedication to being a better me is a success. It's a success to have a family through the years of recovery and the hardships. It's a success in staying dedicated to me first. I will continue my roles as a wife, a mom, a servant to my community, and a loving beacon of light. While I went through those years of pains, I completed another 2 degrees to include my MBA. I started a girls' ministry as a spiritual coach that is now a young group of amazing spiritually enlightened people that are out there changing the world. I became a substitute teacher on my well times. I gained multiple certifications. I became a national speaker for military sexual assault and PTSD, where I was congressionally awarded in 2019 for my efforts in raising awareness at the Veterans Brain Trust Congressional Black Caucus. As a healing mentor, I've created and run 2 successful businesses, and now I'm the chair for Southern Nevada Veterans Mental Health Advocacy Council. So, whatever my future endeavors are, whether consulting, speaking, educating, or advocating, whether everything will serve its purpose and its higher purpose regarding maintaining the homeostasis of my life with my wellness as a priority and the hope for others to keep striving forward. I am living my success. I'm living my dream. I look forward to the expansion of my business and my global footprint I intend on leaving behind. I currently work hard teaching individuals how to heal naturally with what works best for them physically, mentally, and spiritually. And I love that so much. As a holistic entrepreneur, I incorporate all those lovely natural practices that also includes my passion in plant medicine. Growing up on that farm, I learned to heal through the earth. I will be done in 3 weeks with my nationally recognized medical cannabis certification to aid those choosing to heal naturally and complete wellness without all the pharmaceuticals that I once had to work myself through. Incorporating my medical cannabis consultant work, I have the opportunity to use the journey I have taken with years of research, partnership, education, and experience to help those make wiser, more sustainable lifestyle changes for the betterment of their health. This has given me so much fulfilling that is now my journey as into purpose. Constant pharmaceuticals for my medical conditions changed me physically and mentally, and sometimes for the absolute worst. I choose to help those to not have to feel like those pharmaceuticals are their only choice. In the future, I have plans to return to my centennial farm, where there will be a secluded retreat for individuals to unplug from society and plug into the earth while in recovery at an unknown location where no one can find them, so that they can grow without any interruption, relearn, reparent, readjust, and reconnect to the inner child they lost. The programs will be implementing all the trainings, the mind body wellness, and the mental health areas I've learned to grow into to include mental health experts to ensure individuals once lost can finally find their peace again. Teaching others how to farm and see themselves as the land is the greatest gift I had as a child and hold to date. Through farming, I've learned how well I really take care of myself and the things that I love the most. I want to be able, in my next steps, to be able to be the example, if for nothing more than to stand healed for people to have an opportunity to know that they can too. Thank you. Keisha, what's next for you?
So, one of the amazing things about my experience with NAMI is that I really had to look at my life and see what my successes were. During the dark days, I never recognized the fact that I was still accomplishing things. I was being successful at many things. I had been part of a challenging, rewarding 16-year marriage to my best friend. I'm an integral part of raising a loving and aware young man. I've completed my bachelor's and master's degrees for 10 years. I was a highly skilled inpatient and outpatient pharmacy technician. I cared for loved ones during times of difficult illness, mentored young women of color in the importance of mental health, and chaired a women's group at church. I hope to get back to providing mental health services to my community and one day start a nonprofit that provides common sense mental health education for those who have not been equipped with the skills to recognize, explore, and combat mental health concerns, especially adolescents who are potentially going through one of the most vulnerable stages in their life. My goal is to wake up every day with the best intentions and give myself enough grace to start over the next day if it doesn't quite work out. I'm grateful to be able to share my story. It helps. And the hope that it may help someone else is enough to tell it again. I'm more so excited about watching my son or watching as my son grows into a man with the influence of parents who really work hard to instill knowledge about mental health that hopefully assists him through his life's journey. And for my next magical feat, I hope to begin working on my doctorate in 2021. Y'all pray for me. So, those are the pieces of our stories. Thank you for allowing us to tell them.